Hey, it's Mazzy, and this is the Reggae Vinyl Tag. There's been a series of these vinyl tags where various YouTubers who are entrenched in vinyl and music and records come up with a series of questions that relate to a specific genre. We've had the blues vinyl tag, the jazz vinyl tag, the country vinyl tag. There are annual vinyl tags, so we can showcase records that relate through that year, and we answer and show records from our collection that respond to the various questions. Of course, the ever popular folk vinyl tag that I created that is bubbling under, I think, 3 submissions so far. But this one's really cool, and this is a new vinyl community member to me, Ryder's Record Collection. That's his handle. There's a link below, go check him out, and he came up with these questions. So I'm just gonna go through my collection, answer it to the best of my ability. I'm a big reggae fan, but I don't have a deep reggae collection. So most of these records I showcase, most of it are records that you've heard of if you dabble in reggae at all. So nothing really esoteric, I think. But just some good records and a good place to start. And hopefully you'll enjoy this. So let's see, let's go. The first question, show your favorite reggae artist or the artist that got you into reggae. Well, I'm going to show Bob Marley and the Wailers. Of course, that's the obvious choice to a lot of people. He's not the first artist. Later on, I'm going to show a 45 of an artist that I first heard as reggae, and I had no idea it was reggae. I'd never heard the term reggae, and I don't think I even knew it was reggae for a few years, but we'll get to that later. This is my original 1970s American pressing with this cover that is very fragile. And luckily, my original copy, Catch a Fire, is intact and in pretty nice shape. But this is this is one of those covers that you're saying, "What the f do you want here?" Whoever came up with this concept, but really a wonderful record. Concrete Jungle, Stir It Up. I mean, if you don't know Bob Marley, I mean, he's probably the most iconic recording artist from Jamaica who really popularized this, and obviously gringo artists like Eric Clapton pushed it forward with I Shot the Sheriff and really helped him get on his way. And of course, I did see him once. I was fortunate to see him once, and I'll plug that in a little later when we talk about the live record. That's another question down the line. Okay, show a release on Island Records. Of course, Island Records was Chris Blackwell's label. And I'm going to show this. There are 2 volumes of these. There's a yellow covered one and the red covered one. And if you're just trying to get into vinyl a little bit, these 2 comps, this is Reggae Music Volume 1 and 2, are kind of nice comps. It doesn't have all the normal hits, but you have a array of the Heptones, Arthur Lewis, Augustus Pablo, Desi Young, Burning Spear, Third World, Peacemakers, George Decker, and a great kind of overview. Island Records, of course, the great Chris Blackwell, who, obviously signed a lot of rock bands too, but world music, but really probably the best promoter of Jamaican reggae music to the West, or at least to the UK and then to America. So this is a cool release on Island Records. Show a release on Mango. And of course, I couldn't get away of doing a reggae video without showing The Harder They Come. 1973 album and film. Everyone that I knew went to see The Harder They Come in the theaters. It really pushed reggae music to an American audience, I'm sure, and I'm sure other audiences around the world. But in the States, all the independent theaters and the midnight movie marathons would show The Harder They Come with Jimmy Cliff. And Jimmy Cliff really got a push from this, and then he did a series of pretty wonderful records. It's basically a comp, and it has Jimmy Cliff, the Melodians, the Maytals, the Slickers, Desmond Decker, and then obviously I think half the songs are by Jimmy Cliff. Of course, The Harder They Come, you can get it if you really want. Great movie, fantastic. This is one of the very first promos I got when I worked, got a job at a record store when I was 19 years old, and that's why it's punched here, because when it came out, the Capitol promo guy, soon after that, gave me this record. So original American edition of this, How Do They Come? Mango Records. A release on Trojan. I have a lot of Trojan records, or a handful of Trojan records, and this is actually a British pressing of Trojan, and this is Monkey Man by the Maytals. Of course, they would become Toots and the Maytals. What a wonderful record this is. I mean, just a great record. Anything Toots and the Maytals. I think I probably prefer him more than Bob Marley and the Wailers. It's hard to compare. This stuff to me is really great, really soulful and wonderful reggae music. Monkey Man, the Maytals. Okay, show a dub album. Of course, when it comes to dub, I got to show Lee Scratch Perry, and this is a comp, dub plates, mixes, rarities, 1973 to 1979. Lee Scratch Perry is probably the dub queen, the mix master of anything, and you know, you go crazy collecting his records, and I don't have many at all, but I would love to get into him. This is kind of a reissue that came out about 10 years ago. Lee Scratch Perry, The Return of Sound System Scratch dub. And if you don't know what dub is, mixes, non-vocal mixes, versions. A lot of times on the B-side, they would do a, quote, a version, which is a dub mix of the A-side song that is pretty much the same song, remixed, no vocals, different instrumentation added sometimes. Okay, show a two-tone album, label, or band. Let me start out with this, a CD. I didn't want to show many CDs, but this is literally the two-tone collection, a checkered past, a two-record set. Two-tone is the ska movement that crosses over with reggae and soul, and it's groups like the Specials, the Selector, Madness, the Beat, the English Beat, and so on and so forth. But this is a really, really amazing CD overview. And then just for the hell of it, I got to show two albums. I have more, but these are probably two of the most famous, the Specials. And the two-tone thing, you know, black and white, members of these great groups in the UK from the late 70s. This is, this is 1980 actually, but you know, late 70s, early 80s. This whole thing was very popular. I mean, in San Francisco, these records were everywhere, and we listened to these so wonderfully. I mean, so much. So great stuff. The Specials, two-tone. Show a live reggae album. You know, I don't have any live reggae albums, and I did. When I did my mid-90s purge, I got rid of one of the great live albums. I'm going back to Bob Marley again, so let me just tell a brief story. Bob Marley's live album is a fantastic record, and I need to remedy this and get a copy again in my collection. But I did see the Wailers, and it was at the Oakland Paramount Theater around 1975, 76 or so. And all I remember about it is I was sitting like midway or a little, maybe 2/3 of the way back under the balcony, right? Very end under the balcony looking up. And I remember getting so stoned that I saw the stage sort of moving. And, you know, pot is not a hallucinogenic, but of course it was the music, and maybe the stage was moving because, you know, I mean, Bob Marley is such a soulful singer, and the Wailers and artist, and the beats on that was so amazing. It was one of the great live shows I ever saw. So I'm using that as a substitute for actually showing that live Bob Marley record, which is a fantastic live record. So that's my experience. Oakland, California, mid-70s, Bob Marley and the Wailers. Okay, show your favorite reggae cover album or name your favorite reggae cover song. So this is an artist that I love. This is obviously Joe Strummer, founding member of The Clash, who was very entrenched in the whole reggae sound. And this is Joe Strummer and the Mescaleros. And Joe Strummer does a fantastic beautiful folksy cover version of Bob Marley's The Redemption Song that's on here. And I've showcased this song on several of my videos and even have done audio clips. I think the same take as a duet is on one of the unearthed box set of the Johnny Cash American record. So Johnny Cash and Joe Strummer do a duet of the Redemption Song, and I think it's the same backing track, but just they alternate verses, and that would be great too. It's so wonderful. So the great Joe Strummer, I think there's a great comp that was just reissued by Dark Horse Records, George Harrison label, that has been sort of refurbished. So here you go, Joe Strummer. Okay, show a UK reggae artist or band. This is a 12-inch single, and it's one of the big crossover songs, and it was a huge international hit, and it's Eddie Grant. He's from Guyana, British colonies, but from London. He kind of grew in London, but Electric Avenue is sort of an electronic, funky, reggae hybrid song. A huge hit single, and this is the 12-inch single. This is extended dub mix of Electric Avenue plus a domestic mix of Time Warp. So cool record. Eddie Grant, Electric Avenue. Show a Jamaican reggae or artist, and I kind of did that, but I'm going to do it again. I started out with that, and again, one of my favorites, Toots and the Maytals. These are British pressings of Funky Kingston, Toots and the Maytals, and Toots and the Maytals in the Dark. Fantastic records. Fantastic records. Show an American reggae artist or band. Well, here's why. I'm going to show Ziggy Marley. Of course, Ziggy Marley was Bob Marley's son, born in Jamaica, but this was recorded in New York, and this was produced by Chris Franz and Tina Weymouth, obviously the Tom Tom Club and the rhythm section of the Talking Heads. So I'm putting this in the U.S. American category. There you go. Next one is a reggae single, 12-inch, 7-inch, or 10-inch. So in reggae singles, I'm showing a 1980 reissue. Now, I was referring to this before. This is the great Desmond Dekker, The Israelites. This is a 1980 reissued on Stiff Records. Stiff Records, of course, a great label that had Nick Lowe and Elvis Costello and Reckless Eric and Rachel Sweet, and really kind of a quirky label, and The Damned, so sort of punk, new wave, a great British label. I love Stiff Records, one of my favorite labels also. Look at that label, so great. But in 1980, they did a reissue of this great song. This song came out, I'm thinking 66, 67, 68. I should have looked it up beforehand. This is the first song. I used to have an original 45 of this, and this is the first reggae song I probably ever heard. I had no idea it was reggae. It wasn't called out as reggae to me. When I heard it on the radio, they never said this is a reggae artist, Desmond Dekker. But this was a huge hit in the States, and the first reggae record I ever owned and I ever heard, probably. I can't think of anything else. And it's a great 1980 7-inch. Okay, show a reggae vinyl variant. Well, a record that everyone should get, of course, the greatest hits, the best of, legend, the best of Bob Marley, and of course, come on, look at that. Pretty beautiful. There you go, variant. Show a reggae album with your favorite sleeve or cover art, and that's easy for me. I love this painting and this cover of this Peter Tosh album. This is the album Mama Africa, What a gorgeous pressing. This is a Music on Vinyl reissue that came out this past year. They reissued several of Peter Tosh's albums. Of course, Peter Tosh was a member of the Wailers, and he was pretty much like assassinated. People came in during I think a drug bust or something, and murdered him in his house. Tragic story, but great records. One of his first records was produced by, I don't know if it was his first solo album, but Legalize It. And obviously he was a great proponent of legalizing marijuana. And the Glimmer Twins, Mick Jagger and Keith Richards produced his album. I saw him live at the Old Waldorf, which is a club Bill Graham ran in San Francisco when that first Peter Tosh album came out. But this is such a beautiful cover and gorgeous artwork. So I love that. All right. Name a reggae album you wish they would press on vinyl. Here's a CD. This is a fun, and this is Mazzy inserting my Beatle connection, because I always try to have a Beatle connection and everything. This is called Easy Stars Lonely Hearts Club Dub Band. And these are these reggae all-stars doing a complete cover of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And I don't know if this ever came out. Maybe it did. But it's kind of a fun reggae version of Sgt. Pepper. So I would love to have a vinyl version of this album. Fun stuff, just fun. Name it or show a band that could have made a really good reggae album. I'm going to show the Gang of Four. And in a way they kind of did. They were a post-punk band that had a lot of soul, R&B, disco, post-punk. Of course, this is the box set that came out, and I did a showcase on this before. But these two records are the ones. I have actually Warner Brother promo copies of these two records. They're just very beat-heavy, drum and bass. But again, the post-punk feel. They also got reggae influences. I think they could have done a great straight-ahead all reggae album, which, as far as I know, they did not do. But that would be kind of, I think, a good choice right there. Or show an artist that consistently incorporates elements of reggae into their music. Well, I always think The Clash. The Clash, obviously, their earlier albums, even the punk stuff, had elements of reggae. Obviously, all their albums. But of course, Sandinista, 3-record set. A lot of dub versions on this, very reggae entrenched, not throughout the entire album, but I would say this is the closest they had to a reggae album, and a lot of reggae influences. All these, the reggae punk bands were very influenced by reggae music, and they really crossed over, and there's a lot of incorporating of that music in with a lot of the, especially the UK punk bands. And The Clash and Sandinista, fantastic record. This followed London Calling. A reggae album you would recommend to someone new to reggae. This also is one of the early collections I got in 1974. And it's a record we used to play in the store all the time. I think it's been reissued. And I've showed this on my channel before on Trojan Records, and it's called From Bam Bam to Cheerio Baby. This was on Trojan Records, so this could have been a submission for the Trojan label. This is a fantastic comp. Not a lot of different artists. It has, let's see, Eric Donaldson, Hopetown Lewis and the Chosen Few, Desmond Decker and the Aces, and Toots and the Maytals. And this record is gorgeous and it flows beautifully. And I absolutely love it. And I think, in fact, we used to play this in the store all the time, and we tried to keep this record in stock. And of course, we don't like to do the bait and switch. You only play records in stock when you had it. I mean, you only played records on the turntable in store when you had it to sell. And every time we'd play this, we'd sell several copies. So we always tried to have like 5 to 10 copies of this in our store. And it's a fantastic, one of my all-time favorite reggae albums to listen to, and I would turn anyone on to this. So seek this album out, and it's just a feel-good record. From Bam Bam to Cheerio Baby on Trojan Records. I don't know who issues it now. And the last question, last but not least, he says, is your most recent reggae find. This is a new artist to me, but these records have been around for a while, and that is Congoattie. Now, Congoattie, first let me tell you, he was introduced to me by Psych in the Valley. That's Steve, who has a channel. He's out in Wales. Go up to London, turn left, depending on which way you're going, and go through Wales, and then continue on to Liverpool. Steve has a lot of great reggae and obviously psychedelic and things like that too, but I've bought, I don't know, 4 or 5 things that he showcased, and he turned me on to Congoattie, Jungle Revolution, and Jungle Revolution, the dub. You heard earlier what dub is. It's sort of a dub version of this. He's a British-based, London-based DJ. He goes by different names like Rebel MC, has a lot of different aliases, and has put out music and done DJ work under different names. He's part of the jungle movement of reggae and hip hop and fusion, and really, really cool stuff that gets your booty moving. And I love this cover. I love the sort of gradation of the contrast of just this version of this color image. And of course, they're flip-flopped here. So, new record to me during the pandemic, Congoattie. So, thank you, Writers Record Collection, for starting this reggae thread. And I hope I introduce some of you to some new music, even though there's a lot of the perennial favorites here. So, thank you, and Mazzy loves you.